So ladies and gentlemen, we are in Hisar today, which is located in the northwestern Indian state of Haryana, around 164 kilometers west of the capital, New Delhi. Now, Hisar has a very interesting history behind it. It was ruled by the Mauryans in the 3rd century BC. In the 14th century, it was ruled by the Tughlaqs of the Delhi Sultanate. In the 16th century, by the Mughals, no less. And then in the 19th century, by the British. Finally, when India became independent in 1947, Hisar became part of the state of Punjab. And it's only in 1966 that it was carved out and made part of Haryana. Now, interestingly enough, Hisar has been identified as a counter-magnet city by the National Capital Region Promotion Board. A counter-magnet city is a city which acts like an alternative center for growth and attracts migrant laborers to this place as compared to Delhi. So it acts like a counter-magnet, the magnet being the National Capital Region itself. Now, according to an act of 1985, the NCRPB, or the National Capital Region Promotion Board, can select certain cities as counter-magnet cities to NCR or to Delhi, provided they meet some criteria. And those two criteria are, first, that the city being identified as a counter-magnet city should have its own established roots and potential for growth. And the second criteria is that this city being identified as a counter-magnet city should not have any religious, environmental or strategic importance. Hisar, of course, meets this criteria and therefore has been identified as a counter-magnet city to the NCR. Interestingly enough, the second city in Haryana, which is also a counter-magnet city, is Ambala. So Ambala and Hisar, we are proud of you. Today, of course, we are in Hisar. And coming back to the history of Hisar, you know, after the British rule, so there was an Indian rebellion or the freedom movement in 1857. Hisar participated actively in that movement of 1857. In fact, around 368 people of Hisar sacrificed their lives, or they were exiled by the British when the rebellion of 1857 was crushed. Two prominent persons from Hisar who participated and led the revolution in 1857 were Rao Tularam and Muhammad Azim. And in fact, at one point of time, they controlled the city of Hisar, and took it away from British. But of course, the rebellion was crushed, and Rao Tularam and Muhammad Azim had to pay the ultimate price. During the freedom movement of India, a lot of important people visited Hisar. For example, Jawaharlal Nehru, Lala Lajpat Rai and Subhash Chandra Bose. The city boasts of a proud history, ancient history as well as modern history. And I'm proud to be in Hisar. And let's go around and see some places in Hisar. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Thomas Church in Hisar, Haryana. Now this church is of course dedicated to St. Thomas, who's considered as one of the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ, and apparently arrived in India in as early as 52 AD to spread Christianity. Now this church out here is a Methodist church which represents Protestant Christianity, and it was proposed to be built in 1860 during the British times, and the construction completed in 1864, and finally the church was consecrated by the Bishop of Calcutta in 1865 on the 31st of December. A very solemn place. It's nice to be over here. So at the St. Thomas Church, we also have a graveyard which is behind me, and it houses the graves of, amongst other people, of the collector of Hisar, John Wedderburn, who was a collector of Hisar in 1857. And apparently he, along with his family, were killed by the Indian revolutionaries who participated in the rebellion of 1857. In fact, not only John Wedderburn, but his family, including an infant son, were killed by the Indian freedom fighters, and they were buried over here at the graveyard of St. Thomas Church. So you see, an eye for an eye leads to everybody blind. That's a message which this church wants to give to everyone, that of peace, of non-violence, and of believing in God and peace and the tranquility of humanity. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the Firoz Shah Palace complex in Hisar, Haryana. Now, this gives me a chance to elaborate upon the history of the region of Hisar a little bit. After Prithviraj Chauhan was vanquished by Muhammad Ghori, the area of Hisar came under the rule of the Delhi Sultanate. Now, it was in 1354 that the city of Hisar was founded by none other than Tughlaq dynasty ruler Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Now, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, of course, was the ruler of the Delhi Sultanate, the emperor, from 1351 to 1388, no less. And it was in 1354 that he decided to establish the city of Hisar as a walled city with a fort called the Firoz Shah Fort. And it had four gates of entry: the Delhi Gate, the Mori Gate, the Nagori Gate, and the Talaki Gate. And in the middle of this fort was made the Firoz Shah Mahal, or the Firoz Shah Palace. And therefore, the city of Hisar was called that, Hisar. And the original name was, of course, Hisar-e-Firoza, which is the fort or the Hisar of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, which is Firoz. I'm surprised that nobody has got an idea of changing the name of Hisar so far, for obvious reasons. The fort and the palace started being constructed in 1354 and got completed in 1356. It's of course in ruins out here now, but takes you back to those times when the Delhi Sultanate emperor used to rule over this area. It's a wonderful place. There is a Latki Masjid which is present over here. Of course, there is the Firoz Shah Mahal out here, and there's also a place called the Gurjari Palace or the Gujri Palace. Let's learn a little bit more about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, at the Firoz Shah Palace complex in Hisar, Haryana, we are at a place called the Latki Masjid. Now, this was of course constructed by Firoz Shah Tughlaq as a place of worship. However, one of the monumental features of this place is this lat out here. Now, the lat in the local language stands for a tower. So let's have a look at this tower a little bit closely. Now, apparently this tower is from the Ashokan or the Mauryan times. And the reason it was understood like that was because apparently in the earlier days, a script called the Brahmi script was discovered inscribed on this tower. And around in 1860, James Princeps, who was a philologist, an archaeologist, and an official of the East India Company, James Princeps, in 1860, he deciphered the Brahmi script, and which led us to believe that this tower out here is from the Ashokan times. And it's quite as well that Firoz Shah Tughlaq, while making this Latki Masjid, did not demolish this tower out here, and therefore the ancient with the medieval times exists over here together at this wonderful place called the Latki Masjid at the Firoz Shah Palace complex in Hisar, Haryana. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are at a beautiful place in Hisar, Haryana, a place called the Gujri Mahal behind me. Now, there's an interesting story behind Gujri Mahal. Apparently, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the Delhi emperor who established the city of Hisar, he constructed this Gujri Mahal for his queen and mistress who went by the name of Gujri. And how did that come about? Well, apparently once Firoz Shah Tughlaq was on a hunting expedition in the region around Hisar. It was summers. He got away from his group and was exhausted and tired. His throat was parched. He was about to collapse on his horse and desperately needed a drink. So he was searching frantically. There were no water places nearby, but he saw in the wilderness a lady passing by whose name was Gujri. So the emperor approached her desperately and begged for a bowl of water. However, Gujri had no water upon her, so she couldn't offer water to the emperor, but she had milk. So she fed milk to the emperor, effectively saving the life of the emperor of the Delhi Sultanate, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, possibly changing the course of the Indian history. So the emperor was naturally very pleased, and as a practical gesture of his gratitude, he offered Gujri to marry her. However, Gujri wanted that she should remain in Hisar, and she did not want to come to Delhi along with the emperor. So the emperor respected her choice and built this beautiful Gujri Mahal out here as a residential place for his queen and mistress, Gujri. And you see, that's the beauty of our history. You know, different religions coming together along with these monuments, which are Indo-Islamic culture. And everything in the universe brought everything together in this place called Hisar, with its love affairs, the emperors, the Delhi Sultanate, these monuments. And that's make this place, Hisar, a beautiful place to visit. I'm glad to be here. So ladies and gentlemen, we are at the O.P. Jindal Park in Hisar, Haryana. Now O.P. Jindal, of course, was an industrialist and a politician who lived from 1930 to 2005 and is most famous for his entrepreneurship in the steel industry, which makes this Hisar city so famous. In fact, O.P. Jindal was born in one of the villages near Hisar. Now, Hisar is also, largely due to him, is known as a steel city because it is the largest producer of galvanized iron, which is iron coated with zinc to prevent rusting. And it is also the largest exporter of the stainless steel strips, which are used for the razor blades. O.P. Jindal Park, of course, is famous for this beautiful observatory tower, which is around 282 feet high and is built on the model of the Space Needle Observatory Tower located in Seattle, USA. Lovely park out here, lush green, and provides much needed respite from the brutal summers of the June of 2025 in Hisar to all of us with its sprinklers and the lush lawns and the greenery all around. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the Bluebird Lake in Hisar, Haryana. Of course, it is the summers of 2025 in June right now, so the lake appears shallow, but otherwise, this lake looks very relaxing and it's providing the much needed respite in these summers. Apparently, a lot of boating activities and water sport activities are conducted by the Haryana Tourism over here, because Haryana Tourism is responsible for the management of this lake, along with this beautiful resort out here where you can stay as well. The lush green gardens out here, good parking space, and it's right across the highway. So it's any road trip lover's paradise. Apparently, a lot of migratory birds who are on their route through the Central Asia during the cold winters of Siberia do actually land up over here. There are a couple of small islands out here on this lake where you can see there are swans and the other migratory birds also do land up over here. So beautiful place, the Bluebird Lake in Hisar, Haryana, along with this beautiful resort managed by the Haryana Tourism. Probably next time when I come over here, I'll stay over here. So ladies and gentlemen, overall a lovely trip to Hisar, the city located in the Indian state of Haryana, around 164 kilometers west of Delhi. The approach from the NCR via the national highways is very smooth. The traffic inside Hisar itself is very well organized. The people have a heart of gold. They're very helpful. It's a historic city with a lot of places like Firoz Shah Complex and even modern places like the O.P. Jindal Park, which you can visit and carry some memories home. The street food is nice. I had a separate video for that, and really the street food is delectable. And I stayed at the Lemon Tree Hotel out here, which is it's a nice hotel and takes care of all the basic things and probably a little more. So Lemon Tree is a good hotel to stay at, and so there you are. So overall, a lovely place to come over here on the weekend. I welcome you all to come to Hisar and spend a weekend over here, and I'm sure you won't regret it. See you around soon.